I'm Kyle Chapman. I'm currently a professor of computer programming at Durham College, but it's been a journey. I was born in Ontario and I first lived in Pickering, Ontario. My parents are still together and I'm the youngest of four. Shortly after I was born, my family moved to Coquitlam, British Columbia for about 4 years, and then moved back to Pickering around the same time I started kindergarten in 1987. As a kid, I loved robotics, including transformers, computers, and video games. Actually, none of that has changed. I went to Pine Ridge Secondary School in Pickering for high school, where my best and my favorite classes were French, music, and anything related to computers. I then attended Ryerson University right out of high school for computer science. Part of the time I lived in downtown Toronto, and part of the time I commuted from Pickering. Being in downtown Toronto really fostered my love of independent music and going to concerts and festivals, which was a huge focus in my life that's kind of petered out as I've matured. And you'll see why I have no time for that shortly. I graduated from the BSc program at Ryerson in 2005. And that same year, my brother, known as famed urban explorer Ninjalicious, passed away from complications related to cancer in his liver's bile ducts at the young age of 31. I worked different tech-related jobs at the Toronto District School Board and at Logitech from 2004 to 2008. And that's when I finally applied to the Bachelor of Education program at UOIT, which I started in 2009. I felt a lot better in UOIT's B.Ed program than I did in my undergrad at Ryerson, and this was perhaps in part because I sold my condo in North York to pay for my education. I was very prepared to take the program seriously, and I think it showed. For example, though I'm not really sure why, a video I have on YouTube from a course I took with Jennifer Lafayette in 2009 has 100,000 views. It was a compare and contrast of Piaget and Vygotsky's theories. In 2010, I graduated from the B.Ed program. A professor from that program recommended me to a transition program for students with disabilities at Durham College and UOIT. And that led me to 3 years of work with the Center for Students with Disabilities, now known as the ASC at Durham College. I also met Jordan in April of 2010. We loved each other, and we wanted the same things, so we moved in together in August, I proposed in December, and we got married in July of 2011. Shortly after that, we found out we were expecting Wyatt, who was born in April of 2012. In 2013, I was able to switch jobs from the ASC at Durham College to the Cafe at Durham College. CAFE stands for Center for Academic and Faculty Enrichment. Essentially, I was an educational technology trainer for college faculty. While I was doing this, I attended a dinner where I coincidentally sat next to the right person to set me up with some part-time teaching contracts. By 2014, my son Finn was born. I found myself learning an awful lot about trucks and about Paw Patrol. I also found myself teaching programming courses regularly and contributing a lot of teaching, technology, and accessible practice advice to Durham College's faculty. Some time passed, some busy time passed, and now in 2016, Tristan joined our family on Canada Day. I've enrolled in UOIT's MEd program in the interest of continuous learning and just adding to the tool set. And I've also just switched over to full-time faculty from my role in CAFE, so I'm teaching a variety of courses in Durham College's Computer Programming Analyst program. Because of the nature of my work, I'm most interested in learning in this course about the young adult population group, specifically those students who seem outwardly like introverts. I use technology in pretty much everything I do, but with a healthy dose of fear. People whose faces are stuck to their phones all of the time bother me, and I regularly enjoy time away from screens. I don't have money for camping or vacations, I just take the kids around the neighborhood and to Ontario's lovely beaches. That said, myself, my wife, and my kids are all immersed in technology for learning. My wife is also an educator, and we use a lot of apps for learning and productivity. Of course, my love for classic video games hasn't really diminished at all. My 5-year-old son loves playing Mario and Mega Man games with me, which is just fantastic. In terms of theories and my beliefs regarding cognitive development, Freudian ideas related to how thoughts and emotions relate to one's mental well-being intrigue me and seem useful as a non-expert. My beliefs are also pretty deterministic in general, so I would say having a complete understanding of the function of one's brain tissues would absolutely answer all of the questions. Here we go into a vague philosophical musing. but I'm not sure whether any system could ever be smart enough to understand its own workings 100%. I think if humanity developed an AI system that completely mapped out the function of a human brain, that new human brain mapping system would be unable to understand itself as well. I say this with some idea of how AI systems work. I think focusing one's thoughts and emotions and expression of these is practical. Delving into the biochemical activity of the brain answers questions as well, but the complexity of the system is such that every answer can't be found there, at least not today. And when it can, there will be new and different problems to solve. One of our assigned readings from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy's page on mental illness made mention of a theory by Thomas Szasz, wherein he said, "There is no such thing as mental illness," contending that the continued belief in mental illness by psychiatrists is the result of dogmatism and pseudoscientific research using ad hoc defenses of their main claims. With no intention to undermine the needs of those with mental health diagnoses, indeed I've worked in this space. To some extent I agree with this, and I think definitions of mental illness and the way they're defined separately from otherwise bodily illness, it's unclear and it's messy. Defining mental health effectively is challenging, and my own belief is probably closer to Dr. Gabor Mate, who said, "We think that there are people who are normal over here, and then the pathological ones who have depression, anxiety, or addiction, or schizophrenia, or bipolar disorder, or any number of other conditions, what I see as a continuum." Though diagnosing things can be useful for reasons, legal reasons for example, it's tempting to me to think of mental illness as a continuum, where each person may be affected in different ways and to different extents.